So I guess first off, Maria, tell me about yourself. Like, tell me how you got into stretching or who you are. Just we'll start from there.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty active in general. And then when your mom made the app, I was like, well, and then my mom was doing it, I was like, well, I should probably like try this, it'd probably be a good idea to try it. So like I did, and like, I don't know, I really like that it like challenges you, there's like a streak and it's like, oh, better like keep the streak, can't like lose that. And then like I get really frustrated if I do. And I don't know, it just like it definitely keeps me more accountable to like actually stretching for 10 minutes. Like you finish dancing, you're like, oh, I'll just like do a couple quick stretches, like maybe hold it for 10 seconds. Yeah, call it good. And then you were like, oh man, like I just hurt so bad. So I don't know, it keeps me accountable for sure to actually stretching.
Totally, because I know the moment you challenged me, I'm like, oh, I can't back down, and I'm like, oh, now I actually have to do this. What do you mean? But no, it is good for that element. And do you find that does it offer stretches that you haven't had a chance to figure out before, or is it kind of things you already knew?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. It definitely, like, some of them yeah, are like different things that like maybe I wouldn't necessarily think of as a stretch, or like that would be stretch considered. So yeah, I think it does like offer, I think they've done a good job of like looking for a lot of unique and like different ways that don't not traditional stretching.
Totally. And when you say things that aren't traditional stretching, do you have any stretches in mind, or is it just kind of overall?
I don't know, like for me it'd be like if I was just to tell someone to go stretch, the most generic things they would think of, like, like lean into the wall, calf stretch, like foot to butt, or like sit on the ground, reach your toes, like that kind of thing, or like stretch one arm across.
Have you noticed it makes an improvement in your dance at all? Or is it just more like you feel better and less in pain afterwards?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm so active that it's hard to tell what is actually causing, like that's the hardest part that I find. I'm like, well, maybe it's helping, but like I'm also teaching yoga twice a week. I'm also doing dance. I'm also like doing all these other things. So like I do think it keeps me more accountable for sure to like actually stretch, and then maybe that's helping me be less sore.
Totally. But you make a good point though, especially if you're teaching yoga 2 times a week. Um, First off, how different is WeStretch and yoga?
Like the other ends. I would say like yoga to me is more like flowing, and like they all kind of like go into one another and like build off it. And I'd say WeStretch is more like now we're gonna do this one and then this one, which maybe is a good thing, maybe it's not. Like I don't know. I like both.
Mm-hmm.
Like by just like going from like one pose to the next and like kind of mixing it up makes you not think about it so much, and like it's already planned of what you're gonna do, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. And I think yoga too is more like, I don't know, maybe less structured than stretching, because it's like, oh, I feel like holding this for 1 second, or I'll hold this for 10, or, you more go with your intuition.
So the structure is different. It also sounds like yoga gives you a chance to be kind of more mindful, and stretching just kind of gives you that chance to just shut your mind off and kind of just go for it.
Yeah. And I'd say like with WeStretch, it's telling you exactly what you have to do. Like when I teach, a lot of times I don't really plan it. So then I'm just like thinking of it as I'm going. And so, you're like, maybe as the teacher, I'm like less into it, but at the same time, then I'm not thinking about anything else, because I'm just like, okay, now what's going to come next? Like what's going to go into this?
Totally. And I guess with that, have you been able to incorporate, or did you want to incorporate anything from WeStretch into yoga, or you're kind of like, no, they're pretty separate, so I'm going to keep them separate?
No, like I definitely have taken some ideas. Like I'm like, that one would be good, or like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll add that in, just to try to mix it up.
That's cool. And I guess, where does your passion for all this come from? Because you do so much activity. Where does that drive come from?
No idea, honestly. No idea. I don't know. I just like really enjoy it. If I could, I'd probably just work out all day. Like I could just live in the gym and do that all day. Teach yoga all day, move all day. Maybe not like run all day, but yeah, I could be there all day. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference between you doing yoga and going for a marathon, right?
Yeah, just hop on the treadmill for 6 hours. No, heck no.
Oh, could you imagine? Oh. Do you know off the top of your head what your longest streak has been? Like, have you had a goal to make a really long streak, or?
I think it was like 160 maybe. Let me look. It was pretty far, and I actually cried when I lost it, and I was like, no. And I even like missed it once more, and then I like bought it back, and then after the second time I was like, no, I'm over this. 162. So now I'm back at like 35. But
so was it just a really busy day that caught up to you, and you realized by midnight you're like, I didn't stretch? Oh
no,
no.
it's like usually the next morning I wake up and I'm like, oh. It's like pure defeat. Or then I, like literally every morning I'm like, did I stretch yesterday? Even though like I know I did.
Well, that's too funny. Have you, I guess, do you have any specific routines you like doing in the week, or customizations you like doing or like focusing on?
This month I challenged myself to do the middle splits one every day.
How's that been going?
I mean, I really like the splits ones actually. I don't know if just because like they're more lower body or what, but I really like the splits ones. But like usually I just randomly scroll and just pick one, and usually they all end up being like good. And the only ones that maybe I don't like are just like only the standing ones. Sometimes I don't know. I like to move a little bit.
Almost
more.
a little boring at times. Yeah.
I did do the like plank like the badge plank, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I did it with mom too, and we're like, oh, 3 minutes, easy. Let's like go to 5. Yeah, no, that was not a good time.
So then were you able to do like the cat routine, the cat badge and the T-pose badge?
Yeah.
Did you do those longer than 3 minutes, or were those just 3 minutes too?
No, I think I did those ones like 5. Okay. I was like, I'm just gonna get them all done in one day.
Yeah, I guess, have you had a chance to, outside of like the inner circle of WeStretch, have you had a chance to challenge anybody outside of the inner circle and bring them in?
Yeah, like Lori Woodbeck. I don't know if you know who she is. She's like a dance mom in Edmonton. So yeah, we've kind of like pulled her in, and she's really like, if I start something, I must do it every single day and like at the exact same time for the exact same amount. So yeah, I've been challenging her a lot.
So then she's gonna really hold you accountable because you're like, oh crap. I guess my question now is relating to dance. Have you, or how has things been with dance because of COVID?
Not fun. It sucks. I hate Zoom class so much, but I still go. So
do you host it, or do you?
No, like they've been doing it for us. So like me and Jen have just been teaching like privates on our own. But yeah, we have class twice a week with like the Edmonton kids and the teachers. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, not the same, not as motivating.
No kidding, because it's harder to keep everybody not distracted, focused when you have a screen and they have all these other distractions behind them, right?
Yeah. And then you're like trying to like, they go through like every single person. There's like 8 of us. So it's like, you keep going through the rotations like, okay, what am I going to do in these 10 minutes whilst they're watching everyone else?
No kidding. So do you end up stretching during that time?
No, usually I practice, but like I try to stretch. Well, now I used to stretch just like whenever. I'd be like, feel like it. But now that I started school, I was like, okay, every morning before I start class, I'm gonna get my stretches done, then I'll be ready. Then I won't forget.
So then how early do you have to get up to stretch to get ready to go to online Zoom class?
Right now I get up at like 8, 7:30ish. Not that early.
That's not too bad. Yeah. And then how many minutes do you like stretching a day? Like, where is your sweet spot of I feel good for the day?
Like 14. I hate it when people challenge me for 15. I'm like, no, I only want to do 14.
So why 14?
No idea. It just like seems like a good amount. It's like when the pose count comes up, it's like, that looks like a good amount.
So then have you challenged Jake yet?
Yeah, and he sucks at it. He does it like once every 17 days. And I'm like, hello. Obviously, I'm going to win every single challenge.
Was there anything you wanted to say that I just haven't got to ask you yet?
I think the whole idea of the app is like a really good idea. It makes you more accountable to actually doing something. Like stretch for 5 minutes or sit on the couch. Like, I mean, at least if you're stretching, you're getting something out of it. Getting a little better.
Totally, because something is better than nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I did have a question though of what would you say to people that hadn't used WeStretch and maybe they're around your age or my age and they're just like, well, I don't need it.
I'd say liars. Everybody needs stretches. Literally, this, like, my age and younger are literally the most inflexible, immobile people I've ever seen in my life. Like, when I go to dance and there's like 10-year-olds and they can't touch their toes, like, are you kidding me? Like, what did you do with your childhood? Sit on the couch all day? Like, come on, people. You want to be able to move when you're 30? Like, get up, do something, move.
Well, especially because they say age something like 35 is when you start to lose even more mobility.
Yeah, like, hello. Even like, you know, me and my mom, we like look at my grandma and she like has so many things that like so many things wrong with and like has such bad mobility and she's like shuffling around and we're just like, nope, that's not gonna be us. We're gonna keep doing the stretches because we are not gonna be shuffles. Not gonna be like barely getting out of the chair when we're 80.
Oh, like that's probably the scariest thing, eh?
Yeah, and like especially right now when all we do all day is sit and stare at the computer and hunch our necks forward like this all day.
So do you ever get to take any like movement breaks throughout the day, or are you really just sitting basically from the moment you finish stretching, you sit for the rest of the day?
Well, not necessarily, not now. Like last semester, yeah, I sat for like, because my classes would all be like back to back. So I'd sit for like 5 hours straight. And like usually I'd just get up during them and just start doing like jumping jacks behind my chair because I was like, I can't stand this. And I also have a Fitbit that tells me to get up. So I mean, that
so
helps me.
Saying get WeStretch, get a Fitbit, and you'll be good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like this semester I have like 3-hour breaks. So I try to stay up, not sit during them. I don't like sitting anyway, so.
So what are your best tips and tricks for getting up and just not sitting? Because I know that's something I am guilty of.
Well, I mean, if you're like Jenna and she's like, oh, gotta get my steps, she just like goes down to the treadmill and just like starts walking. Or like I just pace around the kitchen. I don't know, I've tried to like get outside more, like, I don't know, go for a walk or just like busy yourself. Like if you know you're gonna be like putting away the dishes, maybe like purposely only take 2 at a time so that you have to move more instead of like piling on the stack. Vacuuming gets you a lot of steps. Cooking gets you moving a lot. Or even just like, I don't know, like walking for 5 minutes or doing anything for 5 minutes that's not sitting.
Basically just making that effort to say, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
And not let yourself sit while doing it.
Yeah. Or like, you know, if I'm like doing homework, sometimes I like stand at the counter instead of sitting in my chair. Because I'm like, I just cannot stand sitting.
Have you had a chance to do the Alberta tour?
Mm-hmm. I did.
What do you think of that?
I liked it. I like having the different backgrounds, like the Christmas background and then like all the cool things. Like I didn't even know any of those places were in Alberta, except for like the Beaver. But like all the other ones, I was like, never heard of these in my life.
But now you got to travel without getting to travel.
Yeah.
Are there any other locations you want to see on there, or are you content just to kind of be surprised?
Yeah, I mean, like maybe like something from every continent. Like if Ada went to like North America, South America, like South Pole, I don't know, like really crazy places.
Stretch with a penguin?
Yeah.
Or you could dress up as a penguin?
Yeah, Ada puts on a penguin suit.
I would stretch just for that.
Stretch at the zoo, and she just could be a new animal every day.
Oh, the programmers would hate us.
Can you just make 27 different costumes? Thanks.
One has to be a giraffe, and you're not going to see what she's doing because it's going to be way up here.
Yeah, it's like bend neck, the whole thing. Just.
Oh God, they would hate us so much. Those are kind of the extent of my questions. Do you have any final thoughts before I let you go and get up to moving around and stretching out a bit?
People are really skeptical in general of doing exercise, and I don't think it needs to be that crazy. And like they don't need to be worried about stretching and be like, oh, I'm not flexible, then I can't stretch. Like what does that even mean? Like if you want to actually change how you feel and stuff, like you need to start doing something. So like, I don't know, start with 5 minutes, start with 30 seconds, like just do something. And it like, you know, most people, like even myself, I'm like, oh, like I don't want to do that, like, oh. And you're just like, no. And then you start it, and then by the end you're fine and you're like, okay, well, that was kind of worth it.
So
And
how do you motivate yourself when you're like, I really don't want to get up? What do you tell yourself to get up?
I'm like, get up. No, I don't know. I just like, I find myself, I'm like, oh, if I like don't do it, then it just like nags on me all day. And so I'm like, you know what? I might as well just like get it done because I know it's going to make me feel better. And a lot of that too probably comes with like dance and like knowing that like if I want to get where I want to be and like get the places that I want to have, then me sitting on the couch saying, ugh, I don't want to do this is not going to get me there. I don't know. You just got to have that like priority that like you're going to put yourself first and your health is more important than sitting on the couch.
I guess I realize now, just I haven't asked you anything much about Irish dance apart from how that's been going for Zoom. And I know that that's been a big part of what you've been doing for years. Do you just want to tell me a little bit about what Irish dance is and how you've succeeded in it?
Sure. Well, I mean, this is my 15th year, I think, which makes me sound really old. But like, I don't know, like me and Jenna didn't start with Knock, like who we're with now. And from like the very first day we danced, we always worked on our own. And like we never had coaches here that were with us all the time holding our hands. And like, you know, we progressed really fast and learned everything right off the bat. So I think that definitely gives us like an advantage now because we just like knew so much at a young age and like learned those like ways to be on our own and like self-sufficient and like know how to get things done without having someone be like, okay, now we're gonna do this and let me hold your hand. And like, I don't know, I just like really hate hand holders and like hovery people. Like I don't think kids now have that opportunity to try and be self-sufficient. When we moved to Knock, it was like a whole new world of how dance could be. Like never thought we could do any of the things we did, and then we did. So yeah, which I mean came with a lot of sacrifice, and you decide what's really important, you know, like am I going to train 15 hours a week or am I going to go and hang out with friends or go to a party or just not do that, you know? So just prioritizing your goals, I think, had a lot to do with that, and perseverance. Not gonna let someone else beat me, that's for sure. Yeah. And then like, you know, we both dealt with tons of injuries and having to adapt to that and like basically relearn now how to dance, like breaking our feet and stuff. Now you gotta like change how you see dance, and like, you know, living with broken bones, it's like not the same. And you gotta like especially over the last 3 years or maybe even 4, like I've noticed that like I can't dance for as long as I used to, and like, you know, like 15 hours a week isn't really realistic anymore. And so maybe like, and by like cutting back, you know, it didn't change how I feel about dance. So like, you know, gotta listen to your body.
Totally. And do you have any really great achievements or great memories? Like, is there one that sticks out to you as, I'm so proud I did this?
Well, definitely the first time, like when I got top 5 at nationals, that for sure sticks out. Just because like that year was so terrible, you know, like it was the year that I broke my foot or like found out it was broken and like actually realized how to deal with that. And so then we had to like rethink how we were going to do everything in a really short amount of time. Like took a ton of cortisone shots, had to take a ton of time off, like was just constantly in pain. Didn't recall at Worlds, like was feeling terrible about that. Everything was just like going down the drain. And I was just like, you know what, like something's gotta go. And like definitely, I don't know how it happened, honestly, because I was just like, we're just gonna train so hard and just like do it so many times and go and we'll just see what happens. And like I don't think no one expected us to get in the top 5 for sure, like myself included. I was like, you know what, if I get like top 10, that'll be good enough. And like, you know, I remember being on stage and like watching it back and I was just so stunned. Like I just literally stood there with like no expression. And I was just like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm like, I come off the stage and the teachers are there and they're like, oh my God. And I'm just like staring at them, like had no idea what was happening. And then, there's like Jenna, who's the total opposite of me. She's like on stage, like crying, her eyes are like jumping up and down, like just like total opposite. So yeah, that was a good one. And I mean, like, I don't know, being in the top 5 at Oireachtas too, like 6 years in a row, that's probably a pretty good one. And I mean, like my last placing at Worlds was like 35th, which is the highest I've ever gotten. It was like 10 spots off a world medal, but still felt pretty good about it. Yeah.
The fact that you made it there, that is such an insane accomplishment that I could only imagine what that feels like.
Yeah. Like now looking back at it, I'm like, like in the moment, maybe I was like hard on myself. I'm like, oh, I could have done better. Like, I'm like definitely one of those people that like doesn't fully celebrate it. And it's like, oh no, we just gotta like think of the next thing. But like now, like looking at it, it's like, yeah, like I'm proud of all that work that we put into it. So
is that something that you're finding that as you're getting older, you're becoming more almost accepting of just whatever happens, and I'm doing my best? Or is it kind of like, that could have been better, let's do it better next time?
Yeah, like for sure when I was like younger or like even in high school and stuff, I just was always like, no, we need to like be better, like push the top to the top to the top, and like we're just gonna kill ourselves and keep going. And like if I'm dead by the end of the week and everything hurts and I can barely walk, but I'm just gonna keep doing it. And like for a while, like in high school, I was getting up at like 5 a.m. I was going to the gym by 7. Like I was there, I was at school 7 a.m. till 3:30, like just like crazy amounts. Like I was training 4 times a week plus 20 hours of dance. Like, yeah, which, I mean, did not maybe serve me the best, but I did it, and got me 5th. So
yeah, well, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, and happy classes. Okay.
Thanks. See you.